Contrary to one might be led to believe, a date complication isn't always a plus. It is a necessity to some, I get it, but to me, it has two major drawbacks. For starters, returning to your watch after days of not using it will require date setting, and that not only is annoying, but might lead to damage in the movement if not done properly. Also, aesthetically, it can disrupt the overall design. A poorly placed date window on the dial can throw off the whole aesthetic. Case in point, today we're diving into 10 stunning watches that show exactly why that matters. Without further ado, let's start with the first watch, the Omega Speedmaster. The Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch is a masterclass in purposeful design, and part of that visual harmony comes from the absence of a date window. Without it, the dial remains completely symmetrical, 3 subdials spaced evenly, no visual interruption. There's a kind of purity here, a tool built strictly for timekeeping, not convenience. That no-date layout gives it a timeless utilitarian beauty. Every element has an essential role. Nothing feels like an afterthought. The cutout on the Zenith Chronomaster Open Heart may break symmetry, but it does so with intention. Its circular shape echoes the 2 subdials, creating a kind of visual triangle. There's still harmony here, even if it's not perfectly symmetrical. A date window, on the other hand, would have been a harsher interruption. A small, often square element, arbitrarily placed, that would have truly thrown off the balance. By leaving it out, Zenith lets the open heart be the star without tipping the scale too far. The Rolex Daytona is a chronograph with a mission. It was built to measure speed, lap times. Every element on the dial serves that purpose. 3 subdials, a clean tachymeter bezel, crisp indices, and notably no date. Why? Because the date has nothing to do with racing. Adding it would be a conceptual disruption, a distraction from a dial designed for focus and precision. Rolex borrowed the Zenith legendary El Primero 400 and then re-engineered it, stripping up the date, tuning down the bit rate, and shaping it into the 4130 and then the 4131, a chronograph movement more aligned with Rolex's vision of rugged functional minimalism. The result? The Daytona with its clean symmetry and 0 distractions. No date does not necessarily mean the watch isn't complicated. The TISSOT CP2 flyback is not only a chronograph, but also features a flyback function, which is technically much more difficult to achieve than a date complication. You'll notice there's no date window at 6 o'clock, which may seem like a perfectly good spot given the open space, but that's no oversight. Zenith deliberately left it out to stay faithful to the original Chiarelli military chronograph, where a date wasn't needed and minimalism served both function and form. We leave the world of chronographs for a moment and take a look at the Nomos Orion 38. Bauhaus design dictates minimalism here. Slender hands and thin indices on an exceptionally clean dial. It's a quiet statement that complexity doesn't always mean better, and sometimes simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. What if the Rolex Datejust had no date? That's exactly what the Oyster Perpetual offers. Also, not everybody is a fan of the Cyclop lens. This is a more essential Rolex, although the resemblance with the Datejust is so strong you might feel like missing out. Now we're stepping into a completely different world, one of timeless classicism and high horology. The Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso stands apart not just for its iconic rectangular case and Art Deco heritage, but for its pure date-free dial. Here, the absence of a date window isn't just about minimalism, it's about preserving elegance and balance. The Reverso's clean dial allows the focus to remain on its refined proportions and exquisite craftsmanship. With one of the smoothest manual winding actions, the Hamilton Khaki Field has a busy dial, mainly because of the Arabic numerals, not only from 1 to 12, but also smaller 13 to 24 numerals indicating military time. Adding a date here would have been senseless. In my opinion, one of the best Timex watches ever made. The Marlin Jet is exceptional. Its 38mm brushed steel case is topped with a hazelite crystal that fully covers the bezel, drawing attention to a concave white dial, disturbed only slightly in its symmetry by a 24-hour register at 9 o'clock. A date window at 3 o'clock might have made sense, but its absence ultimately benefits the dial's clean, well-balanced design. In 1916, a Tissot watch made its way from Le Locle in Switzerland to a customer in Russia, sporting a long, gracefully curved rectangular case and elongated numerals that danced with the arc of the dial. It was bold, ahead of its time, an Art Nouveau rebel in a world of round, restrained pocket watches. Nearly a century later, Tissot resurrected it as the Heritage Banana, a tribute to that era's daring elegance, with no date window, no modern clutter, and a crystal that curves with the wrist. It's a poetic echo from a time when form and beauty came before function. No date, less is more. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I am personally drawn to watches with no date for the reasons that I've explained. Certainly there are cases where date complication, for example, in the case of grand date, adds value to the watch, but that's a totally different story, a totally different world. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you feel like doing so. Catch you in the next one.